The Discovery. Jack Reynolds never liked landing on strange planets, but he had no choice this time. His cargo ship, the Starborn, was damaged after a meteor storm. The fuel was low, and the engines needed repairs. If he didn't stop now, he might drift in space forever. He found a small, abandoned moon on his star map. No life signs, no ships, just dust, rocks, and silence. It was the perfect place to land and fix his ship. As the Starborn touched the ground, Jack sighed and unbuckled his seatbelt. He grabbed his repair tools and stepped outside. The air was thin, but his oxygen suit kept him safe. The place was dead. No wind, no animals, no sounds. Then he heard it. A faint cry. Jack froze. He wasn't alone. The sound was weak, almost lost in the windless air. It was coming from a wrecked alien ship not far from his own. The ship looked old, covered in dust and cracks. It had been there for years, maybe even decades. Jack hesitated. He was here to fix his ship, not play hero. But the cry came again, this time, softer. Whatever it was dying. Jack clenched his jaw. "Damn it," he muttered. He turned on his flashlight and walked toward the wreckage. His boots crunched against the dry ground. As he got closer, he saw strange symbols on the ship's side. It was alien, but he didn't recognize the species. He climbed through a broken section of the hull and stepped inside. The air was stale. Broken wires sparked on the ceiling. The place smelled like rust and decay. Then he saw them. Two small figures curled up in the corner. Jack's breath caught in his throat. They were children. No, aliens. Their skin had a faint blue glow, their eyes too large for their small faces. They looked fragile, their thin bodies wrapped in torn cloth. One of them, a boy, stared at Jack with wide, fearful eyes. The other, a girl, was unconscious, her breathing shallow. Jack took a slow step forward. "Hey, it's okay," he said softly. "I won't hurt you." The boy flinched but didn't run. He just held onto his sister tighter. Jack sighed. He wasn't good with kids, especially alien ones, but he couldn't leave them here to die. He crouched down and reached into his pocket. He pulled out a ration bar and unwrapped it. "Hungry?" he asked, holding it out. The boy hesitated, then reached out with shaking hands. He grabbed the bar and sniffed it. After a moment, he took a small bite. Jack smiled a little. "Good, right? Not the best, but it'll keep you alive." The boy chewed slowly, watching Jack the whole time. Jack looked at the girl. She was barely moving. He needed to get them to his ship. "I'm taking you somewhere safe," Jack said. He reached out and carefully picked up the girl. She was so light, too light. The boy tensed, but didn't stop him. Jack turned toward the exit, but just as he was about to step out, his ship's alarm blared. "Warning! Unknown entity approaching." Jack's blood ran cold. Something was coming. He grabbed the boy's arm. "Come on, kid, we have to go." The boy didn't argue. He ran beside Jack, his bare feet barely making a sound. Jack sprinted back to the Starborn. As fast as he could, the girl in his arms, the boy close behind. As they reached the ramp, Jack turned his head and saw it. A dark shape moved in the distance, tall, with too many arms, eyes that glowed red. It was watching them. Jack's instincts screamed at him to run. He dashed inside and slammed the door shut. He barely had time to lock it before something slammed against the hull. The ship shook. The lights flickered. Jack didn't wait. He threw the girl onto a seat, grabbed the controls, and fired up the engines. "Hold on," he shouted. The boy grabbed onto the chair as the ship lifted off the ground. Another hit. The metal groaned. The engine sputtered. Then, boom. A final blast of power, and the Starborn shot into the sky. Jack's hands were shaking as he set the autopilot. He turned to look at the children. The boy was still gripping the chair, his eyes wide. The girl, she was breathing, but barely. Jack took a deep breath. He had no idea what he had just gotten himself into. But one thing was clear. Someone left these kids to die. And now, whoever was hunting them was coming for him too. The escape. Jack Reynolds had made a lot of bad decisions in his life, but this one might be the worst. He wasn't just running from a storm or a broken ship this time. Something was after them. The impact against the Starborn's hull had been no accident. Something big, something fast, something that wanted those kids dead, had attacked as he was leaving. His hands flew across the controls, trying to stabilize the ship. The engines sputtered, warning lights flashing across the dashboard. His heart pounded in his chest. This was bad. Really bad. Behind him, the alien twins clung to the seat. The boy, small and frightened, was gripping the armrest so hard his knuckles turned pale. The girl was still unconscious, her breathing uneven. Jack cursed under his breath. "Kid, you okay?" he asked, keeping one hand steady on the controls. The boy didn't answer. His glowing eyes darted toward the ship's door, then back to Jack. He looked terrified, but not of Jack, of what was outside. Jack stole a glance at the rear camera feed. His stomach twisted. The thing was still there. It was a shadow in the dark, too many limbs, shifting unnaturally as it moved across the surface of the moon, keeping up with the ship even as it took off. Its glowing red eyes locked onto the camera. And then it jumped. Right at them. Jack's instincts kicked in. He yanked the controls, tilting the Starborn sideways. The ship lurched violently. The boy gasped, holding onto the seat with both hands. Jack could hear the metal screech as something massive grazed the hull. Then silence. Jack's breathing was heavy. The ship trembled, but nothing hit them again. He checked the rear cameras. The creature was gone. Vanished. Jack frowned. He knew better than to relax. Things like that didn't just disappear. He turned back to the boy. What the hell was that? The kid didn't answer. He was still trembling, his strange blue glow pulsing like a weak heartbeat. Jack exhaled, running a hand through his short-cropped hair. He needed to get out of this system now. He flipped on the ship's long-range scanners. Maybe, if he could figure out where they were and plot a hyperspace jump, they could lose whatever was chasing them. The scanner loaded, and when it did, Jack felt a chill crawl up his spine. There was another ship in the system. Not his. Not the wrecked one on the ground. Something big, hidden behind the moon's shadow, waiting. And it wasn't just any ship. It was war class. Armed. Tracking them. Jack's mouth went dry. He knew a bounty hunter ship when he saw one. And this one had already locked onto them. Damn it. A sharp beeping sound rang through the cockpit. Incoming transmission. Someone was hailing him. Jack's fingers hovered over the answer button. Every part of his brain screamed, "Do not pick up." But if they already had him locked in their sights, ignoring them wasn't an option either. He pressed the button. A voice crackled through the speaker, deep, emotionless, like a machine speaking through a mask. "Pilot of the Starborn. Surrender the cargo. Now." Jack's jaw clenched. His eyes flicked back to the two kids behind him. The boy's face was pale with fear. The girl still hadn't woken up. Cargo. They weren't talking about his ship's supplies. They meant the twins. Jack's fingers curled into a fist. "Yeah, sorry, but I don't take orders from people who hide in the dark," he said. "Maybe try sending a polite request next time." The voice didn't react. No threats. No warnings. Just 3 words. "You will regret this." And then, alarms blared. Missiles. 2 of them, locked onto his ship. Jack acted fast. He slammed the controls, twisting the ship into a steep dive. The engines roared as they strained to push the Starborn into a high-speed escape. The boy yelped as the ship spun. The unconscious girl slid across the seat, but Jack didn't have time to help her. The missiles were closing in. Jack's mind raced. He had seconds to decide. He couldn't outfly war-class missiles in open space, but maybe. His eyes darted toward the moon's rocky rings. Dense, unstable. Flying through them was suicide. One wrong move, and his ship would be nothing but space dust. But if he did nothing, they were already dead. "Hang on, kid," Jack muttered, and he dove straight into the asteroid field. Boom! The first missile struck a nearby rock, sending debris flying past the ship. The second missile twisted midair, trying to track him, but Jack was already weaving through the asteroids. The Starborn shook as chunks of rock grazed the hull. The ship's shields flickered, struggling to hold. Jack gritted his teeth. Almost there. Just a little more. VEP. Missile lost lock. Jack exhaled sharply. The missile, confused by the dense debris, veered off course and detonated against a massive asteroid. The explosion sent shockwaves rippling through the ring, shaking the Starborn violently. Jack barely managed to hold the ship steady. Then, silence. He had done it. Jack quickly steered the ship back toward open space, his hands still trembling. He checked the scanners. The warship was still there, but it wasn't chasing them. Not yet. They weren't running. They were watching. Jack's stomach twisted. Whoever they weren't just some random bounty hunters. This was planned. Those kids were important, and someone wanted them dead. Jack turned to look at the boy. He was still shaking, his glowing eyes wide with fear. Jack softened his voice. "Hey, I need you to talk to me now. Who are you? Why are they after you?" The boy swallowed hard. Then, finally, he spoke. His voice was quiet, shaky, but clear. We were waiting for you." Jack's blood turned cold. "What?" The boy lifted his hand. His skin glowed brighter as he pointed at Jack's wrist. Jack looked down. His old flight bracelet was flashing. The screen displayed a message he had never seen before. "Protocol activated. Guardian confirmed." Jack's heart pounded. This wasn't just a rescue mission. This was something much bigger, and he was right in the middle of it. The hidden past. Jack Reynolds wasn't the type to believe in destiny. He was a cargo pilot, a loner drifting through space, picking up jobs where he could. But now, as he stared at the glowing message on his wrist, "Protocol activated. Guardian confirmed," he realized he wasn't just in the wrong place at the wrong time. He was meant to be here. Jack turned his eyes back to the alien boy, who was still trembling. The girl was still unconscious, her breathing slow but steady. The boy had spoken for the first time just moments ago, and his words were still rattling around in Jack's head. We were waiting for you." Jack swallowed, his throat dry. "What the hell does that mean, kid?" The boy hesitated, glancing at his sister before looking back at Jack. His strange blue eyes shimmered like liquid metal. When he spoke, his voice was small but clear. "You are the Guardian." Jack frowned. "The what?" The boy's glowing fingers touched his sister's forehead gently, as if making sure she was still alive. Then he turned back to Jack and said something that made Jack's stomach twist into knots. "You are the last one." A cold feeling crawled down Jack's spine. "The last what?" Jack exhaled sharply, shaking his head. "Look, kid, I don't know what kind of prophecy nonsense you're talking about, but I'm just a pilot. I found you on a dead moon and—" "No," the boy interrupted, shaking his head. "You were always coming for us." Jack stiffened. The way the boy spoke, so certain, so calm, sent a chill through him. It was like the kid knew something Jack didn't. The warship outside, the shadowy monster on the moon, the strange feeling that had been nagging at Jack ever since he found them. None of this was a coincidence. Jack exhaled, running a hand over his face. He had questions, too many questions, but first he needed to make sure they were safe. He turned to his navigation panel, fingers flying over the controls. The warship was still watching, not attacking, not chasing, just waiting. Jack didn't like that. "We need to get out of here," he muttered. "Somewhere far." The boy shook his head. "Nowhere is far enough." Jack clenched his jaw. "That's not an option, kid. You don't get it. Whoever's after you, they will never stop." Jack turned to the boy, his frustration growing. "Then tell me who the hell they are." The boy flinched at the anger in Jack's voice, but he didn't look away. Slowly, he reached out and pressed his glowing hand against the ship's control panel. Jack's eyes widened. The ship responded. The screen flickered, static filling the cockpit for a moment. Then, an image appeared. Jack's heart stopped. It was a human man. Middle-aged, dark hair, sharp eyes, wearing an old Earth military uniform, one that hadn't been used in decades. And Jack knew exactly who he was. Captain Elias Reynolds. His father. Jack's mouth went dry. His father had vanished years ago, lost in deep space on a classified mission. No body, no wreckage, just gone. But now, here he was, staring back at Jack from the screen. It wasn't a live transmission. It was a recording. And it was old. Jack's fingers hovered over the console. His throat felt tight. He pressed play. The message crackled with static before the voice of Captain Elias Reynolds filled the cabin. "If you're seeing this, then you've already found them." Jack's heart pounded. "Listen to me, son. I don't have much time. This mission, it was never what they told us. The twins, they aren't just children. They are something more. A link between two species, a key to a future we don't understand. And that's why they will try to erase them." Jack's pulse raced. "You have to protect them, Jack, no matter what. They will come for you. They will never stop. But you're the only one left. You are their guardian now." The screen flickered, then cut to black. Silence filled the cockpit. Jack sat there, frozen. The words repeated in his head over and over. You are their guardian now. His father had known about the twins, had been part of this, and now Jack was in the middle of it. The boy was watching him carefully. "Now you understand," he whispered. Jack leaned back, exhaling a slow breath. His mind was spinning. He wanted to argue, to say this was some kind of trick. But deep down, he already knew the truth. This wasn't just a rescue mission. It wasn't just bad luck that led him to that dead moon. This was planned, destined. Jack was never just a pilot. He was always meant to find them. And now he was their only chance to survive. The ship's alarm blared, breaking the silence. Jack looked at the scanner, his stomach dropping. The warship was moving. They weren't just watching anymore. They were coming for them. Jack clenched his fists. No, not today. He turned to the boy. All right, kid. I don't know what the hell is happening, but if I'm your guardian, then that means one thing. He flicked the ship's power systems on, engines roaring to life. We're getting out of here, and we're gonna find out the truth. The boy nodded, determination filling his glowing eyes. Jack didn't know what was waiting for them out there, but one thing was certain. This was only the beginning. The chase begins. Jack Reynolds had never believed in fate, but fate, it seemed, had found him anyway. The twins, Rico and Vea, weren't just lost alien kids. They were something more, something powerful. And now, thanks to an old message from his long-lost father, Jack knew one undeniable truth. They were being hunted. And now so was he. The ship's alarms screamed through the cockpit, warning lights flashing red across the dashboard. Jack's fingers flew over the controls, adrenaline flooding his veins. The warship had been watching them, but now it was moving. Jack didn't waste time. He slammed the thrusters, sending the starborne rocketing away from the asteroid field at full speed. The ship shook violently, its damaged hull groaning in protest. Come on, baby, hold together, Jack muttered. Behind him, Rico was gripping the seat, his glowing blue eyes locked on the screen. Vea was still unconscious, her breathing shallow. Jack had no idea what was wrong with her, but whatever it was, they didn't have time to figure it out. A new alert flashed on the console. Incoming fighters. Jack cursed under his breath. The warship wasn't alone. It had launched 3 pursuit ships, small but fast. The kind meant to disable a target, not destroy it. They wanted the twins alive. Jack's hands clenched around the controls. Over my dead body. The first shot hit. The ship lurched violently as blue plasma bolts slammed into the shields. Sparks erupted from the console, and Jack barely held the ship steady. Rico gasped, his fingers gripping the seat so hard his knuckles turned white. They're getting closer. Jack gritted his teeth. Yeah, I noticed. A second round of shots streaked past them, narrowly missing the engines. The targeting system blared another warning. They were being locked onto. Jack's mind raced. He couldn't outrun them in open space. The Starborn was built for cargo, not speed. But he wasn't planning to run. Jack's fingers flew over the control panel, pulling up a map of the nearby sector. His eyes scanned the holographic display, looking for something, anything that could help. And then he saw it. A gas giant, thick clouds, electrical storms, zero visibility. A dangerous place to fly. Perfect. Jack turned to Rico. Hold on, kid. We're going into the storm. The boy's eyes widened. The storm? Jack yanked the controls. The ship dived toward the planet at full speed. The fighters followed, their sleek black forms cutting through the darkness like knives. Jack's jaw clenched. Let's see how good you bastards are in bad weather. The clouds swallowed them whole. Inside the storm. The moment they entered the planet's atmosphere, the cockpit exploded with warnings. Electrical discharges, turbulence off the charts, wind speeds high enough to tear apart small ships. Jack's grip tightened on the controls. The ship shuddered violently, but he kept pushing forward. Come on, he muttered. Through the shaking, he caught a glimpse of the fighters on the radar. They were still behind him, but they weren't as stable. The storm was throwing them off course. Jack smirked. That's right. Follow me in, you idiots. A bolt of lightning crashed into the clouds beside them, the glow flashing through the cockpit. Rico squeezed his eyes shut. We're going to crash. Jack scoffed. Not today, kid. He jerked the controls, sending the ship into a tight spin between the violent storm currents. The wind fought back, trying to rip the ship apart. But Jack held steady. Behind them, the fighters struggled. One of them lost control. Jack caught a glimpse of it on the radar as it spiraled out of formation, straight into a lightning strike. The explosion lit up the clouds. 1 down, 2 to go. Jack exhaled sharply. But the victory was short-lived, because the other 2 were still locked onto them. A new warning flashed across the screen. They were launching torpedoes. Jack's stomach tightened. He didn't have countermeasures. He didn't have weapons. He was flying a damn cargo ship. He stole a glance at Rico. The boy was still gripping the chair, his breathing fast, his glowing eyes wide with panic. Jack's mind raced. He needed something, some way to shake them. And then, Rico's hands lit up. Not a normal glow. Brighter. Pulsing. Jack's breath caught. Kid. The ship's controls flickered. For a split second, Jack lost control of the thrusters. The ship shifted on its own, veering sideways, just as the torpedoes closed in. The missiles missed by inches. They shot past the ship, disappearing into the storm. Jack's heart pounded. What the hell was that? Rico's glowing hands trembled. He looked at them, his face full of fear. I don't know. Jack didn't have time to process what just happened. The last 2 fighters were still on them. He looked at Rico again. The kid had done something. Jack's jaw clenched. Do it again. Rico swallowed. I don't know how. Try. The boy closed his eyes. his hands glowing brighter. The ship hummed, a strange vibration, like an energy pulse running through the systems. And then, the power cut. The entire ship went dark. Jack's stomach flipped as the Starborn went into freefall. They were falling, straight into the heart of the storm. Rico's eyes snapped open. I can't stop it. Jack's pulse roared in his ears. He grabbed the controls. Nothing. He slammed his fists against the panel. Nothing. They were going to die. Then, a shockwave ripped through the ship. Jack's breath caught as the display flickered back to life. The ship stabilized midair, the engines roaring back online. But something felt different. The storm was gone. Jack blinked. No, not gone. They had passed through it. The scanners showed open space ahead. No fighters. No warship. Nothing. Jack let out a shaky breath. We lost them. Rico slumped against the seat, his hand still faintly glowing. His face was pale, exhausted. Jack turned to him, his mind racing. The kid had just saved their lives. Not with luck. Not with skill. With power. Jack exhaled. All right, kid. He swallowed hard. I think it's time you told me the truth. Rico's glowing eyes met his. And then, finally, the boy said the words that changed everything. We're not just aliens. We were made. The secret of their power. Jack Reynolds had seen a lot of strange things in his time. Smugglers running from the law, pirates looting derelict ships, even alien creatures that could snap a man in half. But nothing compared to this. Rico sat across from him, his glowing blue eyes filled with exhaustion and fear. His hand still faintly shimmered with the strange energy that had just saved their lives. Vea, his twin sister, was still unconscious on the medical cot. Her glow was fading, her breathing shallow. And now, Jack had just heard something that made his skin crawl. We're not just aliens. We were made. Jack leaned forward, his eyes locked on the boy. What do you mean, made? Rico hesitated, staring down at his hands. He flexed his fingers as if trying to understand his own existence. Then, in a quiet voice, he said, We were created in a lab. Jack felt his stomach twist. A lab. The boy nodded. By humans. And others. Silence filled the cockpit. The engines hummed softly, a low reminder that they were drifting through space, safe for now. But Jack's mind was racing. Humans had made them. His father's message suddenly made more sense. The twins, they aren't just children. They are something more. Jack's fingers curled into fists. What are you? He asked. His voice was firm, but not unkind. Rico glanced at his sister. He reached over, brushing a hand gently over her forehead. For a moment, her glow pulsed brighter. Then he turned back to Jack. We are the bridge, he whispered. The missing link. Jack narrowed his eyes. Between what? Rico hesitated. Then he took a deep breath and said, Between your kind and theirs. Jack's heart skipped a beat. The pieces clicked together in his mind like a puzzle snapping into place. These kids weren't just some random alien species. They were part human. Jack swallowed. Are you saying you're a hybrid? Rico nodded. Yes, but not like the others. Jack frowned. Others? Rico's face darkened. We weren't the first. There were many before us. Failed ones. Broken ones. His voice became quieter. They didn't survive. A cold chill ran through Jack. Experiments. Someone had been trying to create the perfect mix of human and alien. And these kids, Rico and Vea, were the only ones who had lived. Jack sat back, rubbing a hand over his face. And let me guess, whoever made you, they want you back. Rico's hands trembled. Not to take us back. To erase us. Jack's stomach twisted. This wasn't just about capturing them. It was about wiping them out. Jack exhaled sharply, his mind reeling. The warship, the bounty hunters, the shadowy creature on the moon. It all made sense now. These kids were the key to something big. And that meant one thing. They were in more danger than he had ever imagined. A secret buried in the stars. Jack stood up and started pacing. He needed to think. He needed a plan. But one thing kept nagging at his brain. His father. Elias Reynolds had been part of this. That much was clear. But why? Jack turned back to Rico. "You said I was always coming for you. What did you mean by that?" The boy hesitated. Then he pointed at Jack's wrist. Jack looked down. His flight bracelet was still glowing. The words from before had faded, but the device was still active. Jack pressed a button on the side. A new holographic map flickered to life in front of him. A set of coordinates. Rico looked at them and nodded. "That's where we have to go." Jack frowned. "What's there?" Rico hesitated. Then he whispered, "The place where we were born." Jack's chest tightened. Where they were made. Jack clenched his jaw. Every instinct told him this was a trap. But he also knew something else. If they didn't find answers now, they never would. He sat back down and cracked his knuckles. "All right, kid. Looks like we're going on a little trip. The hunter in the dark." Jack set course for the coordinates. The engines flared to life, and the Starborn shot into hyperspace. For a while, the cockpit was quiet. Jack kept an eye on the scanners, but there were no ships following them. That was the part that made him nervous. They weren't running. That meant the people hunting them weren't chasing. They were waiting. Jack tapped the console, activating the external sensors. The ship scanned the surrounding area. At first, there was nothing. Then, a blip. Jack's pulse jumped. He zoomed in. It wasn't a ship. It was something else. Something huge. The scanner couldn't even identify it. Just a dark shape, lingering in hyperspace, moving in their direction. Jack's mouth went dry. He had seen a lot of ships in his time. Military cruisers, battle stations, even alien dreadnoughts. But this was different. This wasn't just a warship. This was something else entirely. Jack had the sick feeling that whatever was waiting for them at those coordinates was already watching. And it wasn't human. The betrayal. Jack Reynolds had been a lot of things in his life. A smuggler, a cargo pilot, a man who kept his head down and avoided trouble. But now he was something else. He was a target. The twins, Rico and Vea, weren't just lost kids. They were designed to be something more. A bridge between humans and an unknown alien species. A project that had cost countless lives. A secret someone was willing to kill for. And now, as the Starborn hurtled through hyperspace toward the coordinates burned into Jack's flight bracelet, one thing was clear. This was a trap. But he was going anyway. Jack kept one hand on the controls, his eyes locked on the swirling void of hyperspace outside the cockpit window. His scanners were running on a constant loop. Nothing was chasing them. But that didn't mean they weren't being followed. He glanced over his shoulder. Rico was sitting quietly near the medical cot, where his unconscious sister lay. His small hands were glowing faintly as he placed them over Vea's forehead. Jack didn't know what he was doing, if it was healing her, stabilizing her, or just a desperate attempt to wake her up. Jack had questions. Too many damn questions. But there was one that kept clawing at the back of his mind. Who betrayed them? Because someone had. Arrival at the ghost station. The ship lurched as it dropped out of hyperspace. The bright blue tunnel of lights vanished, replaced by the cold blackness of open space. Jack's eyes flicked to the viewport. The coordinates had led them here, to a massive derelict space station. It was old, ancient. The exterior was covered in scars from battles long forgotten. Huge metal structures jutted out like broken bones. Some sections were completely ripped apart, floating in a slow, endless drift. Jack felt a chill crawl up his spine. This place had been abandoned for centuries. But the signal from his father's message, the one hidden in Jack's bracelet, was coming from inside. Jack tightened his grip on the controls. This is bad. Rico stirred. This is the place, he said quietly. Jack shot him a look. You sure about that, kid? Because this looks like a damn graveyard. Rico didn't answer. He just stared at the station with those glowing blue eyes. Jack exhaled. All right, but if this goes sideways, we're getting the hell out of here. He piloted the Starborn toward the station's docking bay. Surprisingly, the doors opened as they approached. Jack's gut twisted. Someone was expecting them. The moment they touched down, the ship's systems flickered. Jack cursed. What the? The entire ship powered down. Lights, engines, life support, everything shut off. Jack unbuckled his seatbelt. That's it. We're leaving. Rico shook his head. We can't. Jack turned to him. What do you mean we can't? Rico's voice was barely a whisper. They won't let us. Jack's blood ran cold. Then, a voice crackled through the cockpit speakers. Welcome back, Guardian. Jack froze. The voice was human, and it was familiar. The screen in front of him flickered to life. A grainy hologram appeared. Jack's breath caught in his throat. It was his father, not the old message from before. This was different. His father was older in this one. His face was worn, his hair streaked with gray. And he was alive. Jack's pulse roared in his ears. Dad, he whispered. The hologram blinked. Then, a blast of static. The image cut out. Jack shot to his feet. No. What the hell is happening? A new voice filled the cockpit. Not his father's. Someone else. Step outside. Reynolds, we need to talk. Jack's gut twisted. He didn't like this. At all. But he was out of options. He grabbed his blaster and turned to Rico. Stay behind me. The boy nodded. And together, they stepped out of the ship. The betrayal. The station was too quiet. Jack moved cautiously, his blaster raised. The docking bay was huge, with rusted metal platforms and flickering emergency lights. No signs of life, except for the figure waiting for them. Jack's grip tightened on his weapon. Who the hell are you? The figure stepped forward, out of the shadows. Jack's stomach dropped. It was a woman, and not just any woman. Captain Maravos, a former Earth military commander, a legend, a ghost, because she had been declared dead over a decade ago. Jack narrowed his eyes. This just keeps getting better. Voss smirked, still as charming as ever, Reynolds. Jack didn't lower his blaster. You know me. Her expression darkened. I knew your father. Jack's fingers curled around his weapon. Where is he? Voss tilted her head. That's the question, isn't it? Jack's patience snapped. Cut the games, lady. Why the hell are we here? Voss glanced at Rico. Her expression hardened. Because you made a mistake, Reynolds. Jack's pulse spiked. Voss took a step forward. You think you saved them. That you rescued them. She shook her head. But you didn't. Jack's hands tightened on his blaster. What are you saying? Voss exhaled. I'm saying you were never their guardian. Jack felt like the floor had dropped out beneath him. Rico's hands started to tremble. Voss's voice was calm, but cold. You were just their delivery boy. Jack's stomach flipped. The truth hit him like a punch to the gut. This was never about saving them. This was about bringing them back. Jack's mouth went dry. You used me. Voss nodded. And now, your part is over. Jack's blaster fired, but he was too slow. A pulse of energy erupted from the station balls, knocking Jack off his feet. His body slammed against the cold metal floor, his vision swimming. The last thing he saw was Rico reaching for him. And then, everything went dark. The final truth. Jack Reynolds woke up in chains. His head throbbed. His vision swam. Cold metal dug into his wrists, locking him to a steel chair bolted to the floor. His ship was gone. His blaster was gone. And Rico and Vea. Jack's stomach turned. They were gone too. The room was dim, the air thick with the scent of rust and old machinery. A single overhead light flickered, casting long shadows against the walls. Jack exhaled sharply, trying to push past the pain in his skull. His memory was hazy. The last thing he remembered was Voss, and the truth that had nearly shattered him. You were never their guardian. You were just their delivery boy. Jack clenched his jaw. His entire mission, his entire Dan rescue, had been planned. He had walked right into it like a fool. A door hissed open. Jack's eyes snapped up. Captain Mara Voss strode in, her boots clicking against the metal floor. Two heavily armed guards flanked her, their rifles trained on Jack. Jack forced a smirk. I'd say good morning, but something tells me this ain't gonna be a good day. Voss didn't smile. You should have stayed out of this, Reynolds. Jack tugged against his restraints. Yeah? Well, someone should have told me I was running errands for a bunch of bastards. Voss crossed her arms. You don't understand what's happening here. Jack's patience snapped. Then why don't you explain it to me before I put my fist through your face? Voss let out a slow breath. Then she took a step closer, lowering her voice. This was never about killing the twins, she said. Not exactly. Jack narrowed his eyes. Oh, great. That makes me feel so much better. Voss ignored him. Do you even know what they are? Jack exhaled sharply. Rico told me. He said they were made. A mix of human and something else. Voss nodded. That's right. They're the last of their kind. But do you know why they were made? Jack hesitated. He hadn't asked. He hadn't had the chance. Voss stepped closer. They were the first successful bond between human DNA and an ancient species known as the Vatrax. Jack frowned. He had never heard of them. And Voss's expression darkened. The Vatrax weren't just any aliens, Reynolds. They were gods to their people. A species that could control technology with their minds. Ships, weapons, entire planetary systems. They could bend machines to their will. It wasn't just biology. It was something deeper. Jack's pulse spiked. He had seen it. Rico controlling his ship, redirecting missiles. Wait, Jack said slowly. You're saying the twins. They're the last connection to that power, Voss finished. Jack's stomach dropped. They were created to be the ultimate weapon, she continued. A perfect balance of human adaptability and Vatrax control. But the project failed. Until them. Jack swallowed hard. No wonder people were hunting them. No wonder Rico had been afraid. They weren't just special. They were the key to unimaginable power. And Jack had led them right into the hands of their enemies. Jack's fingers curled into fists. Where are they? Voss tilted her head. They're safe. For now. Jack yanked against the chains. If you lay a hand on them, I swear. Voss's eyes flickered with something close to regret. We don't want to hurt them, Reynolds, but we can't let them leave. Jack let out a bitter laugh. You think you can control them? Voss didn't answer. Because she knew. No one could. The rising storm. A deep rumble shook the station. Jack stilled. The guards exchanged a glance. Then, the lights flickered. A sharp electronic whine filled the air. A pulse, low and deep, like a heartbeat reverberating through the metal walls. Jack's hair stood on end. Voss's communicator crackled. Captain, we have a situation. The voice cut off. Then, the entire station went dark. Voss cursed. The guards tensed. Jack just smiled, because he knew exactly what was happening. The twins unleashed. A new sound echoed through the halls. A low hum. Then, footsteps. Slow, steady, glowing. Jack saw them before Voss did. Rico and Vea stood at the doorway. Their bodies pulsed with radiant blue light, their eyes burning with something ancient. Something more. The guards raised their weapons. The twins lifted their hands. And the station came alive. Panels exploded. Wires ripped free from the walls, writhing like living creatures. Doors slammed shut. The guards screamed as their rifles disassembled in their hands, the metal melting into nothing. Jack watched, stunned. He had seen glimpses of their power before. But this was something else entirely. Voss took a step back, her face pale. No, this isn't. She never finished her sentence. The floor split open beneath her. With a scream, she vanished into the dark. Jack barely had time to process it before the twins turned to him. Rico raised a hand. Jack's chains snapped open. Jack stood, rubbing his wrists. Well, he muttered. That was dramatic. Rico's glow dimmed slightly. We need to go. Jack didn't argue. He sprinted toward the docking bay. The twins closed behind. The station was falling apart around them, lights flickering wildly. The Starborn was still docked, but the ship's engines were offline. Jack swore. Damn it. Vea, still weak but standing, raised her hand. The ship hummed. The engines roared to life. Jack let out a breath. I'm never getting used to that. They boarded just as the station collapsed. Jack hit the controls, and the Starborn blasted out of the docking bay. The station imploded behind them. Jack didn't look back. The final decision. For a long moment, nobody spoke. Jack stared at the stars, his hands still trembling on the controls. Then he turned to the twins. Where do we go now? Rico's glowing eyes met his. Somewhere they'll never find us. Jack exhaled. Yeah, good idea. He leaned back in his seat, letting out a slow breath. He wasn't their guardian. Not by fate, not by some grand plan. But looking at them now, Jack knew one thing. He was going to protect them anyway. No matter what.